All right, so we are gonna be making pita. And this is one of my family's favorite things to eat, and it's actually surprisingly easy and delicious, of course. And of course, warm, fresh pita, there's nothing better. So I like to use this cookbook called Breaking Breads from Ori Sheft from the Lechamim Bakery in Israel. And I use the recipe called pan pita, except I don't make it in a pan. But we'll go through all of that. So this recipe is done by weight. So I use my kitchen scale, but you could also do it by measure if you'd rather. So I'm gonna turn on my kitchen scale, and it starts with water. So I am going to put in 1.5 cups of water, or 335 grams. Then the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add in some of the yeast, and we're gonna add it right into this, and we're gonna need, we're using active dry yeast. So this is only 8 grams of yeast. So I'm gonna tare my weight, and I'm gonna add in 8 grams of active dry yeast. That's the equivalent of 2¼ teaspoons. I think that's this amount in a packet, by the way. That's 8 grams of yeast. I'm gonna let that kind of dissolve a little bit, and I'm even gonna swirl the bowl around a little bit so that the yeast all gets mixed into the water. I'm gonna give that a moment. And now we're gonna add to this flour, sugar, and salt. And it's all gonna get mixed in the mixer, so I'm not so worried about the order, but that's the order that they are given in the recipe, so that's what I follow. So we're gonna tare the weight again. Go, and we need 550 grams of all-purpose flour. That's about 4.5 cups, by the way. We're gonna pour that in. Right. Now we need 20 grams of sugar, which is about 1.5 tablespoons. Sugar helps the yeast, of course. Not a lot of sugar. And a little bit of salt, 15 grams of salt. Get it open. There we go. This is just regular salt. Okay, great. Now, we're done with that. Mix with the kitchen scale. So we're gonna put that here in the mixer. All right. I'm gonna put this is my dough hook attachment, so you wanna use this. This should have come with your mixer, and you probably looked at it and said, huh, what do I do with that? Okay, so you're gonna start by going a little bit slow, also because you don't want the flour to fly all over the place, and you're gonna mix that together just for about a minute, and then you're gonna let it go for about 3 minutes until the dough starts to clean the sides of the bowl. And once it's fully clean, that's been about 3 minutes, that's when you know that your dough has been well mixed by your mixer. But I promise you can't break it. So here we go. So we're gonna start with a minute. This is what it looks like at first, as it's first mixing. Okay, so now we're gonna actually turn it up just a little bit, now that it's all kind of mixed in, and it's gonna work the dough. We're gonna do this for about 3 minutes, until the dough really cleans the sides, and it will really do that. All right, so my mixer has been going for about 3 minutes. I'm gonna turn it off. I'm gonna take the dough hook out, and you can see that the dough is very, very well mixed by my mixer, and it's almost completely cleaned the bowl, so that's great. And so now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna prep the dough for the first rise. So I'm gonna put a little bit of flour on my hands, very clean. and I'm gonna take the dough and I'm gonna squish it into a ball. And what I wanna do is take this ball and I wanna actually tear the dough a little bit, and I wanna pull it in on itself, and I wanna keep turning the dough and tearing it in on itself. I'm gonna make like a really nice round ball, or maybe like not that nice of a ball, it will just be sort of nice. I'm gonna turn it around like this. A little bit more, a little bit more, and you can see that I'm starting to tear the dough and make this sort of nice round ball. All right, and some of that flour that I tossed in there before is floured on the inside of the bowl. And so I'm making this really nice round ball of dough. And I'm gonna put it right in the bottom of my bowl, just like it was, and I'm gonna sort of move it around so I get that flour that's left that I threw in there just now, kind of all around. Okay, now I'm gonna cover this with some plastic wrap, and I'm gonna leave it sit in kind of like a nice place, a room temperature, not too warm place, and I want it to double in size. So it's gonna take about half an hour. So I'm gonna cover this up, I'm gonna leave it, I'll be right back. All right, so my dough has doubled in size. It's really nice and puffy. So I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna put it down on this floured surface. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna give it another proofing. So I'm gonna put some flour on it. I'm gonna put just a little bit of flour on my hand. And I'm gonna take this dough and I'm gonna break it into some sets. Now the recipe says that it makes 8 pitas, but we like them a little smaller. So I actually get quite a few pitas out of this recipe. So I'm gonna make like a bunch of pita-sized clumps of dough, like this. Okay, so then I'm gonna take each of these, I'm gonna roll them in a little bit of dough, and I'm gonna take them in my hands, and I'm gonna roll them around and tuck in underneath, and squish it around like this until it makes a really nice ball. Then I'm gonna set that to the side, and then I'm gonna do all the rest. Okay, so it looks like I made 10 pita balls, and now I'm gonna take a little bit of flour and sprinkle them on top of each one, like this. And then I'm gonna cover them, and I'm gonna let them rest again. This time for about 45 minutes. It's a nice warm spot, but it's not super warm in my house, so I want them to be nice and puffy again. And when I come back, I'm gonna roll them out, and I'm gonna bake them. So now my pita has been resting, and we're just gonna make a couple of them. So I'm gonna leave a few of them here for later. Covered up. So now they're very fluffy. So I don't wanna defluff them too much, but I do find that rolling them out makes for the best pita. So I'm just gonna squish down each ball into a kind of nice round pita. Sort of round-ish. No one cares what they look like when they taste very good. So I'm gonna take this nice round pita and I'm gonna drop it on a cookie sheet that's covered in parchment. Okay, so I'm gonna do a second one. This one's a little bigger. They don't always come out exactly the same. That's okay. All right, so here's my pita, and I put this one also on the cookie sheet. So parchment, cookie sheet, a little bit of flour on top, and I'm gonna stick it in an oven that's been preheated to 475 degrees. Now, I like to put it on the bottom rack of the oven. It gets it closest to the heating element. My oven's a little hotter on the bottom, so I know that. So I like to cook it in that place. You do whatever works best in your oven, but that works best for me. So I'm gonna put this in the oven, and I'm gonna put it in for about 2 minutes. And then I'm gonna check it. Usually the first one takes a little bit longer to bake, so maybe it'll be 3 minutes. And then when it seems like it's starting to cook, then I'm gonna go in and flip it over. And that's how we get that nice sort of brown pita outside. All right, so here we go. Okay, it's been about 3 minutes, and so now I'm gonna reach in here and I'm gonna turn them over. So they're not totally done, but that's okay. Don't hit yourself on the stove. And then you're gonna cook it for about another 3 minutes. At some point there's gonna be a little bit of brown on them. Sometimes they might puff up, and this is gonna be perfect. All right, so you see how they are perfect. A little bit brown, a little bit puffy. I'm gonna take that out of the oven. take my pita and put them on a plate. Look at that perfect pita. Beautiful. Okay, I brought in my guest pita taster and also my camera woman.